Hello and welcome to episode 79 of the Bearded Banter podcast, the gaming podcast where we're finally back after our little extended hiatus. I'm your host, Shane the Bearded One, and as you can see, I'm joined by nobody today. I'm doing the podcast all by myself. Don't want to be all by myself anymore. The reason I'm doing it by myself is because I'm actually recording this Monday afternoon, the day this is going up. I didn't have time over the weekend or on Friday to record the podcast, unfortunately. And since it's Monday, everyone I could record with is either busy working or at school. So I just decided after I'm done class, once I get home, I'm just going to record the podcast by myself, be a super chill episode, and just talk to myself for like an hour. So, like I said, welcome back from our little extended hiatus. If you were not aware of what was happening, the reason we haven't posted an episode since the end of September is because throughout the entire month of October, my other podcast show, the Gap Podcast, otherwise known as the Generic Anime Podcast, was celebrating its second annual Month of Spook, colloquially known this year as the Month of Spook. We did this last year. We spent every week throughout the entire month of October covering a new horror anime every single week. We did the same thing this year, except with bad horror shows. So that took up all of our time throughout the month of October, and we had no time in between since we were doing the show on a weekly basis in order to do Bearded Banter. So at the end of the last episode, episode 78, I said, hey, we're going to go on hiatus for a little bit, but we'll be back sometime either end of October, early November. And here we are. It is November 4th, 2019. It is a brisk, chilly November afternoon today. And I'm here to talk about some goddamn video games, because I haven't done this in a while, and I'm super excited. So, welcome back to Bearded Banter. If you are unfamiliar with our format here on the show, which I wouldn't be surprised since we've been gone for like a month and a half, we start off with some general discussion, talk about what games we've been playing lately, and then we end that off with a discussion question of the week before we go right into news. And it's like the beginning of November. There's not really any news. We got about 8 or 9-ish stories to cover today. There's some big things here and there within said stories, but nothing super, super big. So, without further ado, I should have gotten some water before I did this. Fuck. I didn't even think about that, but whatever. We'll just roll with it. So let's get started with our general discussion. And since it's just me this week, this is going to go fairly quickly since I'm the only one here to talk, and I have like 2 games to talk about. So let's get started with some general discussion. In terms of what I've been playing lately, I've been playing 2 games, like I said, in particular. One of those being Afterparty, which is a character-driven adventure game where you try to outdrink Satan to escape hell. If that sounds fucking out there, it is. But this game is way better than I thought it would be, and I had way more fun with it than I thought I would have. It just came out on Game Pass the past week, so I played it on there, and man, this game is something. You don't see a game like this very often. One that, under all the silliness of the concept and the premise, all of the witty banter in its writing, all of the sometimes cringingly millennial-style jokes, there's a lot of heart and soul under all of that. The basic premise, like I said, is you are 2 college graduates, Milo and Lola, who just wake up dead one day. They wake up in hell, have no recollection of how they died or how they ended up there. And they're trying to find a way out of hell to get back to Earth. And they hear through whispers and murmurs that the only way to escape hell and be taken back to Earth is to outdrink Satan. Because apparently, in this world, hell is like this super cyberpunk-esque, neon-soaked dive bar. Like, the entirety of hell is just one giant dive bar. Everyone, when they're not working, are drinking and partying. So they quickly learn that the economy in hell is alcohol. And so they head to Satan's mansion to challenge him to a drinking contest, and if they win, they get sent back to Earth, and they can live out the rest of their days. And yeah, the premise is goofy. There's a lot of heart underneath all of that. And honestly, this game can cut pretty deep at points. If you follow me on Twitter at BeardedGamingN, I tweeted about this not too long ago. I'm very surprised that the silly drinking game with Satan can be so personal at times. And that's all attributed to the writing, because the writing in this game is flat out outstanding. Like I said, there's a lot of heart and soul underneath all the goofy layers. And a lot of that comes through in the writing, because the writing, for as cringy and millennial as it can be at times, is very interpersonal. It's really focused on dissecting not only these characters, but the situations and the location that they're in. This game paints hell in a very different kind of light than most other media does. It's not this cesspool of violence and hatred and torture, just lava and brimstone. Hell's a pretty chill place, not gonna lie. There's a dive bar in every corner. Everything is soaked in super high contrast neon lighting. Everyone's just looking to have a good time, trying to get away from the hustle and bustle of their daily work lives. And that's why I say this game is so personal, because it reflects that part of society super well through a lens that you wouldn't expect it to be brought through. Like, setting this game in hell, but having it feel so realistic and human to what we experience in everyday life here on Earth is kind of genius, because it's the perfect contrast between these super mundane, realistic, almost heartbreaking events contrasted with this super dystopian, surrealist atmosphere. And character writing is just as good. All of these characters are super fleshed out. Each of them have their own personalities, their own anxieties, fears. Everyone has something to say, whether that be good or bad. And this game really doesn't hold back from getting into the real nitty-gritty of human nature. Because it really delves into human psyche and what people are like when they're put under situations of high stress and anxiety, and how people react and cope with that, all the while bringing in themes of mortality, because obviously they're in hell. Everyone's already dead. So a lot of these people are still trying to cope with the fact that they are dead and that they're stuck here for all eternity. And I really like that aspect of the game. The writing is easily the best part. It's the best thing that Afterparty has to offer, because it cuts super deep and gets really, like, high tension emotional at times, but there's a lot of heart and soul that goes behind it, and in the end, it's all about people trying to come together just to survive the mundanity of everyday life. And the game mechanics are super subtle, not overstated at all. It's a simple walk left, walk right. There's some mini games here and there. But for the most part, you're just walking around and talking to people and trying to figure out how to get out, and hearing all of these people's personal stories and anxieties and stuff along the way. And the one thing that makes this game set out from a lot of other adventure games is because it's so based around alcohol, the concept of drinking in a social space. You're drinking a lot in this game. Like, there's one of the core mechanics is that in every bar you go to, you can sit at the bar and order from a diverse menu of drinks. And depending on the drink you have, it can open up different dialogue options, because, of course, everyone gets different kind of drunk, and everyone gets a different kind of drunk depending on the drink they have. So one drink can give you liquid courage, you just say whatever's on your mind. One drink can make you a maniacal genius. One drink can make you lovey-dovey, super affectionate, and it all differs. And each bar has its own diverse menu of different drinks, different colors, different ingredients, all that kind of stuff. And it's just, it's really nice to see that they put that level of care and love into the drinking mechanics, because the whole game is about the concept of drinking. And of course, why wouldn't you be drinking? And I love the fact that drinking is one of the main mechanics. You can't get through this game without drinking. Not so much because you're an alcoholic, more so, social context and all that stuff. But I like the attention to detail that they put into the drinking mechanics. It's really cool. And of course, the game looks great. It's a super minimalist, almost like polygonal art style. But the thing that sticks out about it is the color design, because like I said, everything's drenched in neon colors, super high contrast, the vivid, vibrant colors. It just looks great. The only bad thing I can really say about the game that kind of bummed me out a little bit is performance. I think it's on PC too. I'm not exactly sure, but I know on Xbox there's some real performance issues. Like, it runs at a pretty steady 60 frames for the most part, but every now and then, when you're moving between different areas or the game's loading into a new section, there's some real lag. Like, it can stutter to hell and back. Pardon the pun. But yeah, some unstable performance aside, this game is great if you're looking for a great adventure game, something with a great script, something that'll make you think about like human nature and morality and stuff like that. Go play Afterparty. It's on Game Pass for both Xbox and PC, and it's not that much expensive outside of that. If you like those kind of adventure games, you're gonna like it. And of course, it's from the people who made Oxenfree, so if you like that too, you're gonna want to get on this. With that said, you know when you have, like, you feel like you have a gas bubble in, like, your esophagus that just won't come out? That's how I feel right now. Because every time I breathe, I'm like, But the only other game I have to talk about in terms of general discussion is a game that I've been looking forward to for quite a while. A lot of the marketing and gameplay I saw made this game look really good, and I watched Barry Kramer, former editor of Game Grumps. I watched his stream of this game, which basically sold me on it. And that is Indivisible, the next big game from Lab Zero Games, the people who made Skullgirls. And the best way I can describe Indivisible is if you took a JRPG, gave it the art style of Skullgirls, mixed it with a 2D Metroidvania, and then added fighting game mechanics to its turn-based combat. And I know together that sounds really confusing, but it's a really good game. Like, it's honestly one of my favorite games I played this year. It's definitely in the top 10. But Indivisible, it's a very unique game because, like I said, it's when you're not in combat, it's a 2D platformer, Metroidvania-esque, where you go through different environments and explore. There's a lot of platforming, wall jumping, a lot of vertical stuff, I noticed, which is great. And that feels super, super snappy and responsive, and it's a lot of fun. And then when you get into combat, it's a almost active time battle system, like some of the earlier Final Fantasy games, where it's not it's hard to explain. It's not primarily turn-based, where you literally have to wait until you use all of your attacks, and then wait for the enemy to attack, and then back and forth, back and forth. It's more real-time, where you can call out party members to attack whenever you want, as long as you have the hits to do so, and the enemies can attack whenever they feel like it. But it mixes its almost real-time turn-based, if you want to call it that, with fighting game mechanics, because the whole gimmick of Indivisible is that you have 4 characters in your party, and each character can perform a certain amount of attacks, and depending on what direction you hold on the stick while you hit their attack button, they will perform different attacks. All the while, as you attack more and block more, you build up the super meter, which you can use to perform super moves, which are basically, think your standard fighting game supers like Street Fighter and stuff like that. The reason I say it mixes turn-based JRPG combat with fighting game mechanics is because of the directional mechanic. You hold a direction, you hit a button, they do a certain attack. And because of the active time battle nature to the combat, you can pull off some really intricate combos in this game, where you can send out different team members back to back. They can combo their attacks into one another. You get them into a hit string and then end off with a super, and it can lead to some crazy bullshit that's super satisfying. It's honestly one of my favorite JRPG style combat systems I've played in quite a while. And it's a ton of fun. I never even really care about the random encounters in the game because A, you can skip them, a lot of them you can just ignore, and B, the combat is so fun that I want to fight more enemies. And I know a lot of people can't say that for most JRPGs. The combat gets really stale and repetitive after a while, but this is one of the few that I keep wanting to come back to fight more enemies, to oh, something in my throat, I can't get it out. I want to keep coming back and fighting more enemies and improving my my skills and figuring out different combo strings and whatnot, things like that. It's just really fun. And that coupled with the presentation, the voice acting, where for the most part the entire game is fully voiced and the voice acting is great. They got a great cast for this game. Visually, it's fantastic. The music is great. There's an anime opening that was done by Studio Trigger. Like, this game has it all, dude. It's got great visuals, it's got great combat, it's got great exploration, great characters, great voice acting. Like, what more can you want? And if you like Skullgirls and you want to see, honestly, some of those mechanics in a traditional fighting game implemented in a more RPG style of game, try out Indivisible. I know it's not a full price game. It's around 50-ish bucks, at least where I am in Canada. I don't know what it's like in the US. I think it might be 50. But it's not a full price game. It's pretty lengthy too. I heard it's around 20-ish hours or so. So you're getting a pretty meaty game out of it. Give it a try. Honestly, I think if you're a fan of JRPGs, fighting games, and Metroidvanias, you're gonna find something to like about this game. And that is it for general discussion, just the two things to talk about this week. But before we get into the news, we're going to wrap up our discussion section with the discussion question of the week, which if you're not familiar with this, back in the heyday of Bearded Banter when I first started the show, I would pose a question to the group every week and get their thoughts on it. Kind of weird that I'm the only one here this week, so I'm going to be asking this question myself. Which is a pretty straightforward answer. But discussion question of the week is something that I thought about a little while ago that I had to write down. Because I know for me, there's a story behind it, and I'm sure if I had my other cohorts here, there'd be a story behind theirs. But it was something I thought about, and I thought it'd be interesting to get everyone's answers, but it just turned out to be me. But the discussion question of the week this time is, what is the first game you remember playing? Out of all of the years that you have been a gamer, whether you've been gaming since you were a child or a more recent gamer, what is the first game that you remember sitting down and playing? And for me, this comes with a story, which is not going to be too long-winded. I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but there is a story behind this. The first game I remember playing was Super Mario 64, and the reason it's Mario 64 is because when I was growing up, my sister and I were raised as Nintendo kids, because my parents had an NES, an SNES, and they got an N64, I think right after I was born. But they had all the Nintendo systems because when they were working in their like early late 20s, they would late 20s, early 30s. Sorry, I forgot how old my parents were. But in their late 20s, early 30s, when they were working and when my parents were dating, they used to stay up until like 3 o'clock in the morning playing Mario together. And they would do that. They would go to bed for like 3 hours and then be back at work at 7. And I thought that was really cool that I come from a gaming family, because you look at my parents now and it baffles me that they used to play video games at this point, because they are the most gaming illiterate people I've ever seen. But they used to play games like quite a bit at one point, and because they had all these Nintendo systems and Nintendo games, we just inherited them once we came into the picture. So my sister and I were brought up on the older Nintendo systems, and when the N64 came out, my parents got it not too long after it came out, I don't think. And the first game I remember playing was Super Mario 64, because it was around when I was 3 or 4 years old. I vividly remember My dad, my sister, and I would go upstairs after dinner every night, where the N64 was, in the den, is what we called it. We would go up there every night after dinner, and for like 3 to 4 hours, every single night after dinner, the three of us would play Mario 64 together until we beat it. From start to end, every single night. And we would just stay up until our bedtime, just playing Mario 64, swapping the controller around. We'd all have a go at it, doing different missions, getting different stars. And we would do that every single night until we beat it together as a family. And that is the first gaming memory I ever have. It's one of the most precious gaming memories I have, because it's essentially what turned me into the gamer that I am now. And it's just a really nice, wholesome memory to have, because you don't see that a whole lot, right? You don't see a family coming together through video games, especially when the kids are that young, and just playing every single night together until you beat something. And that's why, even though I think by today's standards it's extremely dated and I'm not a huge fan of it anymore, I still hold Mario 64 in a special place in my heart, because I have that memory of it. That memory of going upstairs after dinner with my sister and my dad, sitting on the floor in front of the TV, powering on the N64 and just playing Mario. So, because of that, that is the first game I remember playing. It's one of the first and most precious memories I have of gaming, and it's essentially what turned me into a gamer, because I've been playing games consistently ever since, 21 years later. So, with that said, that wraps up our general discussion section. Again, about 20 minutes, not too long. I like to ramble on when I'm left to my own devices, so I apologize. But with that said, now that we've wrapped up general discussion, we can go right into the news and, ignore the fucking... ignore the ghost stories meme. But yeah, let's get started with the news. Like I said, there's not a whole lot in terms of news stories this week. It's the beginning of November. It's pretty dead, all things considered. We won't probably get a whole lot more big announcements until the Game Awards. And even then, by the time the Game Awards premiere, we won't be doing Banter for the rest of the year at that point. So hey, whatever. Follow me on Twitter at BeardedGamingN, where you can see all of my thoughts on the Game Awards once that comes around. But yeah, we have about 8 or 9 stories to cover today, so let's get right into it. Starting off with, of course, our obligatory Xbox Game Pass story. And since I'm the only one here, again, I'm left to my own devices. No one can stop me! So they announced the rest of the Game Pass lineup for the end of October and early November. One of these games does go into the beginning of November. So let's read article from EGM. Microsoft has announced that 7 new games will be joining Xbox Game Pass for console between today and November 7th. The first batch of games joined the pass on October 23rd and included Hello Neighbor's follow-up Secret Neighbor and downhill racing game Lonely Mountain Downhill. Following these games will be 60-second Adventure Minute on October 24th, and Obsidian Entertainment's first-person sci-fi RPG, The Outer Worlds, on October 25th. Both of those are, as of this recording, already available. Also coming to the pass later this month are Afterparty, which I just talked about, in which players attempt to outdrink Satan and escape hell on October 29th, and LEGO Star Wars 3 on October 31st. Again, both of those are currently available. The final game is Subnautica, Unknown World Entertainment's underwater adventure game, will be added to the pass on November 7th. Ugh. God, I hate when I'm like gassy. Every time I talk for an extended period of time, I just get real gassy. I don't know why. So yeah, that is the lineup for the rest of the month. We're already in November, so that's the lineup for the rest of October in terms of Game Pass. Not a bad selection. Other than like Outer Worlds and Afterparty and maybe Minute, I don't know, I haven't played it yet. Pretty dead for the most part. I'm sure some of these games a lot of people are excited for or were excited for and are already playing and enjoying. But yeah, not too big of a deal. with this batch of games, I just threw it in here because, of course, I'm the Game Pass guy, and why wouldn't I have the obligatory Game Pass story, right? So yeah, I just threw this in here for formalities for the most part. Let's move on and get to some release date stories before we get to some of the other ones. Starting off with Nioh 2, we heard word not too long ago that Nioh 2 was releasing in early 2020. We now have an official date, so let's read. Koei Tecmo and Team Ninja's Nioh 2 will arrive on PlayStation 4 on March 13th, 2020. I know many of you have been waiting, and we thank you for your patience while we work to set an official date, producer Fumihiko Yasuda wrote on the PlayStation blog. One of the primary reasons for not rushing to set a launch date was to ensure that we can achieve a genuine evolution from Nioh, which to us meant that we needed to bring in fresh new elements while retaining the things that we felt were right from the first game. In addition to confirming the release date, Yasuda shared a few details on Nioh 2's upcoming open beta. During the beta, players will be able to try out the game's character customization feature and the new Switchglaive weapon. The beta will drop players off in the interim, a safe area where they can choose between different weapons and try them out before heading into the real game. After choosing to proceed, players enter a stage called Tsunomata, which is based on the Tsunomata Castle. The open beta runs from November 1st through November 10th, so it's currently live. Players who manage to complete the beta will be rewarded with the Mark of the Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, which unlocks the Kamaitachi helmet for the in-game shrine to use in the full game. Nioh 2 is available to pre-order now, and players who do so will receive the Demon Horde armor set, Sudama Netsuke charm, a PS4, and 3 avatars. So I don't really have anything to say about Nioh because I didn't play the first one. I just heard it was basically a Souls game, but with samurais. Which is basically what Sekiro is too. But yeah, I don't have much to say about this. It's cool it's coming out in early March for people who have been looking forward to this. I really have nothing to say because I didn't play the first game. Moving on, something that is more situated to our group, which is a shame that no one else is here. We've gotten tons of stories over the last few months about Monster Hunter World's Iceborne expansion. When is it coming to PC? When is it coming to PC? It's getting a later release date from PC than on console. And we heard January, but we didn't have an official date until now. So let's read. Capcom has revealed that Monster Hunter World's Iceborne expansion will arrive on PC January 9th, 2020. That's my dad's birthday. It's unfortunate that he doesn't play video games. In addition to confirming the release date, Capcom revealed that the PC release will feature high-resolution textures and uncapped frame rate, DirectX 12 support, and support for ultra-wide monitors. Watch the trailer below. Blah, blah, blah. Iceborne introduces a new area to explore called Hoarfrost Reach, new monsters to hunt, a new Master Rank quest difficulty, and new moves for all 14 of the original game's weapons. There's also a new feature for the Slinger that lets players grapple onto monsters. So yeah, again, not too much to talk about in terms of this one. There's been so many stories about the PC release, when's it coming over the last few months. I just felt like I had to follow up with it. January 9th. So all of you PC users who have been waiting diligently for the Iceborne expansion, you gotta wait a couple more months, but early January. The expansion has been available on console for the last 2 months. I believe it came out September 6th, which at this point in the year, it is November 4th. It's been out for about 2 months. So console players already know what the deal is, but PC boys will have to wait a little while longer. Speaking of PC boys, this was a very big, very surprise announcement from Sony and Kojima Productions. Death Stranding, the next big AAA blockbuster title from Hideo Kojima, coming out this coming Friday, has been announced that it is being ported to PC, which we'll talk about that later, but let's read the article first. Kojima Productions has announced that Death Stranding will arrive on PC in early summer 2020. This tweet from the official Kojima Productions Twitter. Thanks to all of you who have been supporting Death Stranding. Death Stranding release on PS4 is November 8th. Furthermore, Kojima Productions is happy to announce that Death Stranding will be coming to PC in early summer of 2020. PC release of the game will be published by 505 Games, but that's all the information we have for now. We are extremely excited and honored to be working with the supremely talented team at Kojima Productions and to bring Death Stranding to PC gamers around the world, 505 Games CEO Rafi Gallant said in a press release. Death Stranding will take gamers through a completely original experience that will delight PC players everywhere. The upcoming game puts players in control of Sam Bridges, a delivery man who is on a mission to reconnect a shattered America following a phenomenon known as the Death Stranding. Death Stranding launches this Friday, November 8th, for PlayStation 4. So this one's kind of a surprise, because Sony has been marketing the hell out of this game the last few months. It's their big AAA exclusive, or at least was, for the remainder of 2019. And this article came out on the 28th, so just about 2 weeks before the game launches, you basically say, hey, it ain't an exclusive anymore, it's coming to PC next year, which, at that point, you might as well not even call it an exclusive, because it isn't. You call it a timed exclusive. It just says summer, it just gives us that vague launch window. I'm going to assume around, like, June, July it'll come out on PC, maybe August at the latest, but it's really weird how Sony is handling these big... I just don't get it. It's really weird how Sony is handling these big exclusive titles now, because they've been marketing the hell out of this game as a PS4 exclusive. It's their big game for the rest of the year. You can play it on PC in like 8 months. And with all the fucking divisive reception that the game's been getting, but like, if you were on the fence about this game and you would rather play it on a PC, just don't even bother. Just wait until the PC version comes out, because by that point, the general consensus will be out. Everyone will have expressed their thoughts on the game, what exactly it is. You'll know everything you need to by the time the PC version comes out. So then, once that happens, you can better make a decision on whether or not you want to buy it. I just don't understand how they've been marketing the hell out of this as a big PS4 exclusive and then be like, psych, it ain't. I just don't get it. And I mean, you could turn that right around and say, well, Microsoft's been doing the same thing. None of the Xbox games are exclusives. They're all on PC. But Microsoft makes PCs. They are a PC hardware company and a software company. So it makes sense that they would want to have their games on PC as well as Xbox, especially in their recent push and initiative to really encourage players to play the games the way they want to play them. So Xbox Play Anywhere, Game Pass for console and PC, cross-buy, cross-play. Like, Microsoft's all about letting you play the games the way you want to play them. And if that means putting them on both Xbox and PC, so be it. You can pick your console of choice, however you want to play it, just go for it. Sony has been so hard-bent, so anal on playing games on the PlayStation platform. PlayStation 4 is the best place to play games. And then they take arguably their biggest exclusive in years and give it to the PC crowd before it even comes out. I don't understand that from a marketing perspective, you know? But maybe I'm just the big idiot piece of shit gamer that's thinking too much about this. Who knows? But let's move on. Moving on to some general delay stories. We've gotten a lot of delays over the last week or so, starting with a huge delay from Ubisoft, which resulted in a bunch of their big AAA titles getting delayed to unannounced dates, all because of Ghost Recon Breakpoint. But let's read. Ubisoft has announced that it is delaying Watch Dogs Legion, Rainbow Six Quarantine, and Gods and Monsters due to Ghost Recon Breakpoint underperforming. Gods and Monsters had an original release date of February 25th, 2020. Watch Dogs Legion was released... I apologize. Watch Dogs Legion was due to release on March 6, 2020, and Rainbow Six Quarantine had a fiscal year 2020 release window. All three of these games will now launch in the fiscal year 2020 through 21, which runs from April 2020 to March 31st, 2021. This decision has been made to give each team more development time to ensure that their respective innovations are perfectly implemented so as to deliver optimal experiences for players, according to Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot. Which, how do you pronounce Ubisoft? Do you pronounce it Ubisoft or Ubisoft? I find myself flip-flopping a lot, but anyway. While each of these games already has a strong identity and high potential, we want our teams to have more development time to ensure that their respective innovations are perfectly implemented so as to deliver optimal experiences for gamers, he said in the press release. You just repeated the same quote twice, guys. That's on EGM, not on me. It was also mentioned that Ubisoft now has 5 AAA titles set to release in the fiscal year 2020 through 21. So this is interesting. So because a single game of theirs underperformed, they decided we're going to push all these big name games back so that they can spend as much time as they need to develop them, make them as clean, polished as they possibly can be, and hopefully that'll improve sales. I don't know. I honestly don't know why Breakpoint underperformed. I haven't been following the discourse on that. But if they feel that they need to delay all these games in hopes of them performing better than Breakpoint, so be it. I don't think, I know I definitely wasn't clamoring for Watch Dogs or Gods and Monsters to come out now because I need to play it now. I can definitely wait for these games, to come out. If they need more time, then so be it. But that leads us into arguably the bigger delay of the week, which I just think this is poetic irony. Remember the September State of Play that Sony had? It was a waste of 20 minutes, but the entire reason they held that was so that they could have a new Last of Us Part 2 trailer, which finally revealed the release date, February 21st. Everyone freaked out. Not even a month later, they're like, yeah, we're gonna delay it again. So let's read. Naughty Dog has announced that it is pushing back the release date of The Last of Us Part 2 by a few months to May 29th, 2020. The game was originally scheduled to launch on February 21st, 2020, but has been delayed to give the development team extra time to polish the game. Where have I heard this before? It was during the last few weeks as we were closing out sections of the game that we realized we simply didn't have enough time to bring the entire game up to a level of polish we would call Naughty Dog quality, director Neil Druckmann said on the PlayStation blog. Even though you've been working on this game for the last 3 or 4 years, but I digress. At this point, we were faced with 2 options: compromise parts of the game or get more time. We went with the latter, and this new release date allows us to finish everything to our level of satisfaction while also reducing stress on the team. While we're relieved that we won't have to compromise our vision, we're disappointed that we weren't able to avoid this exact situation. We wish we could have foreseen the amount of polish we needed, but the size and scope of this game got the better of us. We hate disappointing our fans, and for that, we are sorry. Last month, Naughty Dog shared a new trailer for the game that showed Ellie taking on the infected and teased a returning character, Joel. It was Joel. Joel's alive. Fuck you, Reddit. But yeah, like I said, I just find this super poetic irony because after almost 2 years of nothing. Well, actually, no, they were at E3 2018. Okay. After over a year of no word on this game, no trailers, no release date, nothing, they come out of nowhere at State of Play, launch a fucking brand new trailer, and it's like, hey guys, it's coming in February. It's finally coming. February, that's the date. A month later, the scale of this game got the better of us, and we're gonna delay it again to May. I hope you all understand. This is obviously a super dumb comparison because it's not going to turn out that way. I'm getting Mighty No. 9 flashbacks. Remember when we didn't hear anything about Mighty No. 9 for the longest time, and then we finally got a release date set in stone, and then they delayed it again? And then by the time it came out, A, no one cared, and B, the game sucked anyway. Not that I'm saying The Last of Us Part 2 is going to suck. It's a AAA Naughty Dog game. It's the sequel to arguably their best game, and one of the best games that PlayStation has ever produced. I love the original Last of Us. I think it's a 10 out of 10 experience. But it gets to a certain point where it's just making excuses. you guys have been working on this game for the last, like, at least 2 or 3 years. You finally had a release date set in stone after over a year of silence, and now you're delaying again. And honestly, I don't know, man. Obviously, it's going to sell like hotcakes, and it's going to get 10s across the board, but I don't know, man. I feel like a lot of the hype has died down because of this. Specifically for me. I can't say for other people, but specifically for me. I was hyped to see that it finally got a release date, and then for them, not even a month later, to say, yeah, we delayed it again. Like, okay, I don't care anymore. Sorry, guys. When it finally does come out, I probably won't play it for like a year. But whatever, you do you. If you think you need more time, then by all means take it, if it makes the game better. But let's move on. Speaking of PlayStation, remember when I said Sony's weird? Did you think that Sony was file the trademark for the next 5 PlayStations weird? Because apparently they are now. But let's read. Sony files trademarks for PS6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Sony Interactive Entertainment has filed trademarks in Japan for the next 5 generations of PlayStation. The trademarks have been filed for PS6, PS7, PS8, PS9, and PS10. Of course, this is in no way a confirmation that there will be 5 more PlayStation consoles. This is simply Sony securing those names to protect their brand. Sony's next console will be the PlayStation 5. As previously announced, the upcoming next-gen console features an SSD, a more powerful CPU and GPU, support for ray tracing, and an updated controller with new features. PlayStation 5 is set to launch in holiday 2020. This is just weird. Like, I get that you're filing the trademark so that you can fucking future-proof and make sure that you have those trademarks down pat for when the time eventually does come. But do you think anyone's really going to steal the PlayStation trademark from you guys? I'm pretty sure that's illegal. And I get that you don't have the trademark for like PS6, PS7, or whatever. But did you really have to go this far? Like the next 5 generations. Let's say, hypothetically, each of these generations last as long as the last 2, which have been about 7 years, okay? So 7 years from 2020 when PS5 comes out. 2027, PS6. 2035, PS7. 2042, PS8. 2049, PS9. And then 2056 for PS10. Like, there's future-proofing, and then there's just nonsensical. Like, for you to future-proof the next 35 years of PlayStation, like, I'm not even mad. I just find it funny. That's literally the only reason I threw this in here. I just find it funny. But let's move on to something that's equally as funny for all the opposite reasons. Fallout 76. We all know about Fallout 76. Is not the best game ever made. There's been quite a few issues that have been plaguing it ever since it came out just about a year ago. And for some reason, Bethesda refuses to fix this game. Instead, they decide to add even more nonsensical, unnecessary bullshit to the game to hide up the fact that they don't want to fix it, and then are charging extra money for that, because now Fallout 76 has a premium membership subscription service for $13 a month. Let's read. Bethesda has finally added private servers to its open-world survival game Fallout 76, but you'll need a Fallout First membership to own one. Fallout First is priced at $12.99 a month or $99.99 a year, and includes access to private worlds, a scrap box, a survival tent, the Ranger armor outfit, and more. Here's the complete list. Private worlds. Play in a private world exclusively for up to you and 7 friends. Scrap box. Unlimited storage for crafting components in your own new scrap box container. Survival tent. A new placeable fast travel point with a stash, sleeping bag, and more for all your basic needs. Atoms! Receive 1,650 atoms per month to use in the Atomic Shop. Bethesda are giving you an allowance per month in shitty in-game currency as part of their $13 a month subscription service. Ranger armor outfit, an iconic Fallout outfit, exclusively for members. $13, please. And of course, it wouldn't be a Bethesda subscription service if it didn't come with icons and emotes pack. Unique icons and emotes available only to players. Members will be able to load into their own private world with up to 7 friends. However, only the owner of the private world needs to be a Fallout First member. Should the owner of the private world leave, the world will still stay active as long as one other player in the world is a Fallout First member, Bethesda adds. More information on this, blah, 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 who cares? They just never fucking learn, do they? Their game has been buggy, broken, almost unplayable for almost a year since launch. There have been several noted issues, and every time Bethesda claims they're going to fix it, they just break more and more shit. This game has been in a constant state of broken for the last year. And what did they do? Instead of hunkering down and creating a be-all, end-all patch that's going to fix everything in the game, make it run great, no glitches, no bullshit, nothing, make it an actual enjoyable experience. They're charging you $13 a month for private servers, which is something that the base game should have had. It's just, man, the audacity of Bethesda at this point, am I right? It's just so fucking funny. It's just hilarious. And I didn't bring it up because I didn't feel like it, but as is tradition with everything else in Fallout 76, even the subscription service was busted at launch because there were several reports of players not being able to enter their private servers. And the one that got me, instances of the scrap box deleting their in-game items. You pay $13 a month to have a dedicated loot chest that you can store items in. And the game tells you, yeah, you don't have those items anymore, sorry. And I think Bethesda responded with, oh, it's not deleting items, but you just don't have access to them right now. Might as well be deleted if that's the case, Bethesda. It's just... They refuse to fix the game and then charge you $13 a month to give you more shit that is A, inconsequential, or B, should have been in the game from launch. And even that's broken! Oh, every time I think of Bethesda or Fallout 76, I feel like I'm going to have a fucking aneurysm. Every single time we get news about Fallout 76, it's never good. They're doing some bullshit shady tactics, or something else is broken, or both. In this case, it's both. The bullshit shady tactics are also broken. $13 a month, please. It's just funny. God, this game is a fucking laugh riot, dude. But let's move on to our final big announcements for the day, which happened this past weekend at BlizzCon, which is Blizzard's official convention. 2 big announcements that we heard some rumors and rumblings beforehand, but they've been officially confirmed. The first of which is Diablo 4, so let's read. Following numerous rumors, Blizzard officially unveiled Diablo 4. Diablo 4? I've been talking nonstop for like the last hour. I'm sorry. Let me try it again. Following numerous rumors, Blizzard officially unveiled Diablo 4 during the BlizzCon 2019 opening ceremony. Blizzard opened its show with a cinematic reveal trailer that showed 4 people in some sort of temple. 3 of the 4 fight off monsters while the 4th attempts to get a door open. However, it's quickly discovered that the blood of 3 is required. 3 work together to open a door and move to the next room, but the 4th member is left behind to die. It turns out the group came looking for treasure, but are met with their demise and the return of Lilith. I know nothing about Diablo, so I have no idea who Lilith is. The upcoming entry sees players attempting to bring hope back to the world by vanquishing evil, including demon-worshipping cultists and drowned undead as one of several classes. During the announcement, Blizzard unveiled 3 of these classes: Barbarian, Sorcerer, and Druid. Barbarians had the access to the Arsenal ability, which allows them to carry and switch between 4 weapons by assigning them to individual attacks. What the fuck was that? Dexter, did you make a weird noise? Sorry, I think my dog made a weird noise in the background. It fucking spooked me. While sorcerers use the elements to destroy their opponents with fire, ice, and lightning. Finally, druids can switch between werewolf, werebear, and human forms. Sanctuary has been a home to Diablo players for more than 20 years, and it's with our own deep passion for the series and a deep appreciation of the community that we announced Diablo 4 today, J. Allen Brack, president of Blizzard Entertainment, said. We're excited to be returning to the dark, quintessential Diablo gameplay that players love while expanding the world and story in new ways, and we can't wait for more people to be able to experience it. Diablo 4 is in development for Xbox One, PS4, and PC, but a release date has not been yet announced. So that's cool. If you're a Diablo fan, this is cool. I'm not. I could really care less about Diablo. But if you are into Diablo, cool. Diablo 4 is coming. It's been like 7 years since Diablo 3. So that's cool, right? However, this announcement and honestly everything from BlizzCon was overshadowed by Free Hong Kong. So cool. But let's get to the other big announcement, and arguably the biggest announcement of the week, which everyone saw coming a mile away. Overwatch 2 has been officially confirmed. We knew this was coming at some point. Whether or not it honestly has a purpose to be developed. Because honestly, I'm going to get into the article in a minute, but just my quick little 2 cents. Honestly, I feel like the original Overwatch at this point is more so a platform than a game now. Like, sure, it's a game, you play it. But honestly, I feel like it's a platform for them to add additional content to, which they've been doing the last 3 years. They've been adding new characters and new maps and new game modes and all that bullshit. So I don't understand why they couldn't just take PvE or a single-player campaign add-on, just add it to the original. Did they have to make an entirely new game just for those things? But I digress. There might be more to that than I think, because I haven't read the article yet, but let's read. Blizzard confirmed during the BlizzCon 2019 opening ceremony that the previously rumored sequel to Overwatch is in fact real. The big new addition in the sequel is story missions. These 4-player cooperative PvE missions see players experiencing the birth of a new Overwatch as Winston, Tracer, and more team up with a new generation of heroes. Players will fight in missions that take them all around the world as they take the fight to Null Sector. Another new addition is Hero Missions, which sees players teaming up to defend cities against robot invasions, Talon forces, and more. These missions are designed to be replayable and allow players to level up their heroes and upgrade their abilities. Examples given include changing Reinhardt's Fire Strike to ignite nearby enemies and modifying Tracer's Pulse Bomb to cause a chain reaction. Of course, Overwatch's 6v6 PvP returns with a new game mode called Push, in which players fight to make a robot push the objective to their opponent's side. Isn't that a mode in the original? Whatever. The sequel also introduces multiple new heroes and maps, as well as new modes, and Heroes Overwatch 2 is getting an engine upgrade that allows for visual enhancements and larger maps for PvE. With Overwatch 2, we're building the cooperative, narrative-driven game experience that players have been asking for since the original, and that we wanted to make for a long time, J. Allen Brack, president of Blizzard, said. We're looking forward to telling the next chapter of this epic in-game story, and we're excited to give players a whole new kind of co-op experience built around progressing and customizing their favorite heroes, all while providing even more of everything they love about Overwatch today. Blizzard added that all of the original game's heroes, maps, and modes will be carried over to the sequel, alongside all accomplishments and cosmetics earned by players. It was also revealed that the owners of the original Overwatch will be able to play Overwatch 2 players in PvP and have access to the new heroes and maps. A release date was not announced. So here's my thing, right? They announced, hey, new game's gonna have story missions. That's cool. It's gonna tell a story. It's gonna have hero missions, which are, it honestly sounds like a Spec Ops type deal to me. It's the missions that you can do in co-op, and you level up your abilities and all that. The multiplayer returns, including this new mode Rush, which honestly just sounds like a mode they already had in the original game, but whatever. The only thing I can see that would warrant this being a separate new game is the fact that it's getting an engine upgrade, which makes it look better and have larger maps. But honestly, I'm just gonna pose this question out there, and you let me know in the comments what you think, if you care. Out of everything that this new game is adding, based on what this article states, does this sound like this game's existence is justified? Did they have to make an Overwatch 2 based on what specifically new things they are adding? Do you think they could have not just scrapped making a new game and just added a single-player campaign, new hero missions mode, new maps, new characters, new stuff? Like, did anything in this article that is stated as new content sound like it couldn't have just been added to the original game, either through free updates or premium paid DLC? And my answer is no. I honestly think that you could have added everything here that this new game has to offer into the original, and you just keep going with Overwatch 1. You turn it into a platform where you can add all this different content, which you've essentially been doing for the past 3 years. So I don't understand why all of a sudden you decide, let's just make a new game and make the original game completely irrelevant, because, hey, everything in the first game carries over. Like, the way I would have done it, and this is just me, I don't know the business sense of what Blizzard is thinking or how these kinds of things work. I would have just not even bothered with a second game, which, mind you, is probably going to be full price. So let that set in. I think you could have just not done with a new game at all. Just keep going with the first game, add the story mode, add the hero missions, add the new characters, add the new maps, add it to the first game, either as free in-game updates or paid DLC. That's just my 2 cents. Of course, I'm not the best person to ask about this because I'm very opinionated when it comes to this kind of stuff. But I see Overwatch 2 and I see everything new that it has to offer compared to the first game, and I just don't get it. I just don't get why they even bothered. And I know why they bothered, because money, but you didn't even have to bother. You could have just added all of that stuff to the original game and just kept going with it. Just turn it into a Minecraft type thing. Like, Minecraft 2 is probably never going to happen. They're just going to keep adding new shit to Minecraft until it fucking dies. Just do the same with Overwatch. You've basically been doing that ever since it came out. It's become a platform for all this new content and stuff. But no, they decided they're going to fucking double dip. Hey, Overwatch 2 is coming at some point. It's probably going to be full price. It's going to have all this stuff that we could have just added to the original game. But whatever, give us your money. You're going to give it to us anyway. Free Hong Kong. And with that said, that wraps up our news section of the podcast. And the podcast in general. We have nothing else to talk about because that was the last news story. And we have wrapped up our general discussion. So, on a very heated ending, we're going to wrap things up here. Thank you very much for watching this exciting return installment of the Bearded Banter podcast. We're back from hiatus. I know we've been gone for a while, but we're back, and we're going to be back to our normal schedule. Every 2 weeks, you're going to see a new episode. So, with that said, we're going to wrap things up. I've been your host, Shane the Beer One. You can find me on Twitter at BeardedGamingN, where I post a bunch of my shitty opinions on games, movies, anime, post a bunch of memes, etc., and also where I post all of the newest BGN content, so go follow me on there. Make sure you subscribe to BGN on YouTube. Click the bell to get all the notifications on when we upload. And with that said, I think we can wrap things up here. So thanks for watching Bearded Banter, and we'll see you in 2 weeks with another episode. Hopefully, we'll actually have some other people on. So, I've been your host, Shane the Beer One, and I'll see you guys next time. Keep on gaming.